Is to do.
All right. So we just got him in to Passover. We watched him celebrate Passover, go through the Last Supper, and we're not too far away from him getting taken in, right? This is just before he gets arrested, kind of thing. Now, this is the night before in the Garden of Gethsemane. And so we're going to start at 39 and we'll just move a little bit. Here we go. 39. Coming out, he went to the Mount of Olives as he was accustomed, and his disciples also followed him. When he came to the place, he said to them, "Pray that you may not enter into temptation." So first of all, Mount of Olives looks over all of Jerusalem, right? And then 40 goes, when he came to the place, he said to them. Luke doesn't mention the exact place, right? But if you don't believe me, go to John 18, because John explains it, and it's the Garden of Gethsemane, right? Now, the word Gethsemane is actually the Hebrew, or the English version of the Hebrew word that's talking about what that place is, right? And so Gethsemane is olive press, because it's a garden of olives, right? Now in that area, the olives were kind of prized. Well, the oil was, okay? So oil was used for all kinds of things. It was used for burning in lamps. It was used for fragrance. It was used for perfumes. It was used for cleaning up oneself or cleaning up a building or anointing something. And so the oil itself was very prized, right? And I don't know if you know this, but the oil that you can extract from an olive, right? It doesn't come from the skin, it doesn't come from the meat, it comes from the seed. And the seed has to be crushed in order to extract that oil. And so they had these big stone, looks like a big giant stone table, and they got a bigger stone that rolls on top of it, and they put the olives and they roll the stone on top of the olives, and it crushes them down so they can crush the seeds and extract the oil out of them, right? And so this big garden, the Mount of Olives, and the Garden of Gethsemane is an olive garden where they would harvest and press these olives in order so that they can get the oil out of them, right? And so that's where he's gone up to, okay?
It's still there now, those olive trees are too.
Absolutely, right. And even the wall for, I can't remember the name of the wall, but the wall is the retaining wall for the temple. 41. And he was withdrawn from them about a stone's throw, and he knelt down and prayed. I wanted to bring that up again because I love being a stone's throw away, right? And some people are all like, well, you take a young kid and he can chuck it way over there, and you take an older person and he can only get it so far, right? Mm-hmm. It's just a common saying, just saying they're a short distance away, right? They're not very far, they're just far enough to where they can't hear each other, right? So, anyways, he's a stone throw away. And 42 saying, "Father, if it is your will, take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done." Now don't you love this? And I want to bring this up because of the way that Jesus prays, right? We know who Jesus is. We know what he did, all of that. But you got to understand, he prays, "Father, if it is your will, please don't let me go through this." He knows what's about to happen. He knows what he's about to go through, right? And he says, if it's your will, please do not let me go through this. But if it is your will, then I trust you, right? And that is, some people, if you listen to them, the way they teach it, oh no, you need to talk with authority and power, and you need to just hit it with a home run. You can't just, God, if it is your will, please let this happen. But if not, then I'm trusting that what your path is the one I'm going to take, right? And so there's so much power in that. Jesus himself prayed that way. So there's not an issue of going, God, if it is your will, please let this, whatever it is, maybe it's, a sick one being healed, or a loved one, or a bill to get paid, or whatever. If it's your will, may this happen. But if it not be your will, then I'm trusting in you to go with you. I'm putting you first. You're head in line in my life. So I'm trusting in you that whether the path is the one that I think I want or the one that's yours, I'm putting my trust in you. And so Jesus himself said it. If it may not be your will, don't let me go through this. This is going to be excruciating. This is going to hurt. If there's any other way, let this be another way. If they can go to church enough. Right? No, I'm joking. But anyways, if there's a way for me to not go through this, then let that be. But if it be your will that I go through this, then I will. It's not wrong to pray like that. Jesus himself prayed like that, right? But Jesus is saying, if it is your will for me to go through it with it this way, to cover everyone's sin this way, then that's what it is. I put my trust and my faith in you, right? 43. Then an angel appeared to him from heaven, strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly. Then his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. Two things there, right? Some people say it's like he's sweating profusely, right? Just drenched in sweat, right? And I don't know if you know this, but medically it is possible for you to get so stressed out to the point where the blood vessels in the sweat glands will burst. And when they do, the blood will enter into the sweat and it looks like you're sweating blood, right? And so from a medical standpoint, it's absolutely possible to be stressed out to the point that that's happening. Now you got to understand, Jesus knows what he's about to go through. He knows the agony and the pain that's going to happen. So the likelihood of him being so overwhelmed with that feeling that he's actually sweating blood is a very real factor, right? Because he knows the pain he's about to go through. He knows the excruciating things that they're going to do, how they're going to beat him, how they're going to treat him, what he has to go through in order to save everyone, right? 45. When he rose up from prayer, and he had come to his disciples, he found them sleeping from sorrow. Then he said to them, "Why do you sleep? Rise and pray, lest you enter into temptation." 47. And while he was still speaking, behold, a multitude, and he who was called Judas, one of the 12, went before them and drew near to Jesus to kiss him. 48. But Jesus said to him, "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" Now Judas, the word Judas, his name actually means praise, right? Which is kind of nuts for his name to be praised when he's known as the son of perdition, right? Which is destined for damnation, or I believe it is. Don't quote me on that one. I'm trying to remember what the exact words is, but it's, anyways. 49. When those around him saw that what was going to happen, they said to him, "Lord, shall we strike with the sword?" And one of them struck the servant, which, by the way, that's Peter. And one of them struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear, right? 51. But Jesus answered and said to him, Permit even this. And he touched his ear and healed him. So Peter is trying to protect, right? Peter's gung-ho. We talked about Peter. He's a big mouth, right? And he's just a man of action. So he grabs a sword, he cuts the servant's ear off, and Jesus goes, no. We're not doing this. And so he heals that servant's ear right away, right? Which that's just amazing in itself. 52. Then Jesus said to the chief priests, captains of the temple, and the elders who had come to him, "Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs? When I was with you daily in the temple, you did not try to seize me, but this is your hour and the power of darkness." They're trying to get a hold of him, right? They're trying everything they can to kill him. They don't want him there. 54. Having arrested him, they laid him and brought him into the high priest's house. But Peter followed at a distance. Now when they had kindled the fire in the midst of the courtyard and sat down together, Peter sat among them. And a certain servant girl, seeing him as he sat by the fire, looked intently at him and said, "This man was also with him." But he denied him, saying, "Woman, I do not know him." And a little girl, while another, saw him and said, "You also are them." And Peter said, Man, I am not. 59, then after about an hour had passed, another confidently affirmed, saying, Surely this fellow also with him, for he is a Galilean. Now I love that he says that, right? They picked out Peter all day long, right? So Peter's denying, which is exactly what Jesus foretold. But they also pop off and they go, we know that you're with him because you're a Galilean. We can tell by your accent, right? I mean, in the States, we have different accents depending on which part of the country you're from, right? And they know, they go, you're one of them Galileans. You're one of those country boys. We know where you come from, right? We know who you're hanging out with because you wouldn't be here unless it was because of him. I know who you are. 60, but Peter said, Man, I do not know what you are saying. Immediately, while he was still speaking, the rooster crowed. Now, a couple things about this, right? Peter was just having a fight not that long ago in the room with the rest of them, talking about who's going to be the greatest of them all, right? They're all sitting there fighting over, oh, no, I'm better than you are, or you're better than, yeah. And he ends up denying them, which he thought he'd never do. He thought he'd go to his death not doing something like that, and he did it. And not only that he did it, but at the end of it, the rooster crowed. Now, it's pretty crazy because usually in the morning, if you listen to them, when one rooster crows, a lot of roosters crow, right? It's pretty amazing that in this moment, not only was it foretold, but it was just one rooster that crowed, right? Not a group of them. It doesn't say anything about a group crowing. It says one rooster crowed. And so in that area, you're going to have a ton of chickens, right? You're going to have chickens everywhere. And so to only have one of those roosters crowing at that moment is pretty significant, right? 61, and the Lord turned and looked at Peter. Then Peter remembered the word of the Lord, how he had said to them, Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. So Peter went out and wept bitterly. Imagine that, right? So not only is Peter denied him, did exactly what Jesus said he was going to do, and he said, no, that's not me, I'm not going to do it. He does it, and then the rooster crows, right? And just imagine that. Every day after that, imagine what he's thinking every time he hears the chickens wake up in the morning. Right? Every time that rooster crows, he's singing back like, darn it, he told me I was going to do it. I didn't believe him, but I did it. I mean, it's got to be a constant reminder, right? But not only that, though. I think it was a reminder, and it showed Peter 100% this is God. And not that he didn't believe that, but what I'm saying is, imagine the understanding that he had after that, right? Because he's seen the miracles, he's seen the things, he's seen the teachings. He's watched Jesus for 3 years do everything that he's doing, right? But he's also seen it. You guys remember the story with the fish, right? Throw your net over the other side of the boat, and he throws the net over, and he catches so much fish that his net starts breaking, right? He's seen these things happen, and he goes, you're going to deny me. Oh, no, never. And after you deny me, the rooster's going to crow. And so that one single rooster showed that Jesus had control of all these things that are happening. He had an understanding. He knew what was going to happen. He knew that Peter was going to deny him, and he knew that rooster was going to crow at the end of that denial. So he had total control of the situation. He knew what was going on. It was a confirmation going, this is God in human form, right? 63. Now the man who held Jesus mocked him and beat him. And having blindfolded him, they struck him in the face and asked him, saying, Prophesy, who is the one who struck you? And many other things they blasphemingly spoke against him. They're beating the tar out of him, trying everything they can to get this guy to break, right? They do not like Jesus. 66. As soon as it was day, the elders of the people, both chief priests and scribes, came together, and they led him into the council, saying, If you are Christ, tell us. But he said to them, If I tell you, you will by no means believe. And if I also ask you, you will by no means answer me or let me go. Hereafter the Son of Man will sit on the right hand of the power of God. Then they all said, Are you the Son of God? So he said to them, You rightly say that I am. And they said, what further testimony do we need? For we have heard it ourselves from his own mouth. You got to understand the process that they went through to get him there was illegal in its stance. Okay? He went underneath about 6 different trials during this time, right? And he's got the chief priest, right? And there's 2 chief priests, the first ones, who trial him, right? They come and ask him questions. There's a big problem with that, okay? There's a lot of problems with this whole situation. But there's 18 rules to how you're supposed to deal with criminal charges during that day, okay? And some of these rules, they broke pretty bad, right? And in these rules, one, you can't have the court meeting at night, even if the offense is known at night. You gotta wait till the next morning. They had it that night, right? Not only that, chief priest can't do the interrogation, they can't lead it. And he had 2 of them that were leading it, right? There's another problem. The other thing is that he went before them, and then he went to the next ones, right? And then they had to send him over to Pilate, because Pilate had to make the demand and send him over to Herod, right? And from Herod, he had to come back. And what they were doing, though, is that the religious folks, the chief priests, they had lost their ability to be able to enforce capital punishment. So they had to get Rome involved, right? So they had to convince themselves, convince the people, then they had to go convince Rome, and then they had to come back. And by all the time of all that happening, they've got Jesus in handcuffs, right? They've gotten him taken care of. So it's kind of nuts, the whole process is how far they went to make this happen, right? And we just read this not too long ago, is that the chief priests, they were terrified of the people because the people loved Jesus. They knew what he was doing. They've been seeing him do what he's doing. But they figured, he's a problem. We got to get rid of him. And they did a bunch of dirty roundabout tricks in order to come back around to end up eventually killing him, right? It's just wild on the cross, on the story, right?
It should have been Barabbas though, and not Jesus.
Right. So, anyhow. So next week we'll get over to 23, which is Jesus gets handed over to Pontius Pilate, and we'll move on with the whole process. But anyhow.
Aw, it's just getting good.
Oh, I know it. I don't want to stop.
Continue to next week.
No, but regardless of that, circling back around to it, the events are there, but I want to circle back around to the Garden of Gethsemane and praying that whatever it is, if it be his will and not our will. Like that needs to be a prayer, that needs to be an understanding whenever you do pray to God. It doesn't matter what you pray for, go talk to him all day long. Just know at the end of the day, it's his will that needs to be done, not ours. We give up our dreams and wants and expectations and we give it to him. We listen to what he's got for us, right? So when you pray for whatever, but make sure you understand that it's his will. And it's his will to be done, not ours. Amen?
Amen.
Why me, Lord?